Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Hewitt. I am the Club Growth Director for District 3, that's Arizona Toastmasters, and this is part of our social media training. I want to introduce you tonight to our amazing presenter, who is Kristy Hopper. Kristy, I have seen her come up with so many amazing designs for conference, for different campaigns that we've run. You can pretty much say, hey, we need this. And all of a sudden, like magic, it comes out with this amazing, captivating graphic work from anything from a flyer to a social media post. Who is definitely the person to ask. And we all know those challenges that we can face with this. So with that, we are recording this and it will go on our YouTube channel later. I am going to pass you over to the amazing Kristy Hopper, who will share with us what are we supposed to do with these graphics and things like that for Toastmasters now. I mean, help us, please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here and thanks for inviting me to talk about branding and brand compliance and how we can better design creatively for Toastmasters and still stay true to the Toastmasters brand. I wanted to first just go over why branding is important and why Toastmasters International and many large organizations and companies really require that their members comply with brand and promote the company in the right way. Branding goes way beyond just a logo. It represents the organization and their values. Clubs and individual members, we are the face of the organization. We are the face of Toastmasters. When you're talking to your friends or family or coworkers or people you meet, you are representing a larger organization, a global organization. Our actions and our behaviors and what we put out in the world visually is also part of the brand. How we interact with others within Toastmasters and outside the organization is also an extension of the Toastmasters brand and values. Branding helps us maintain a united theme and a consistent message. So we are united as an organization by this set of kind of predetermined images. Some of the things that we'll go over is what we can do and what we should not do or what we should avoid. So if a club creates a unique club logo and they have a meeting with a theme that's over the rainbow and they have a unicorn on the meeting flyer, how do people know that that's Toastmasters? How can they you link Toastmasters to those images? So if we unite the organization and our clubs and our members with a consistent theme and images so that people know what we are and who we are when they see our materials. They recognize that. And our materials for clubs and our areas and stuff should reflect that. Even if you're not using the logo on your materials, you still need to follow the branding guidelines. One thing is that we know that every club is unique. We know that every district is unique. And we want to try to be as creative as we can within those guidelines. And I will say that even though clubs operate differently and no club is the same, I've been to many clubs, no club is the same. We still have to kind of face the world publicly with the same image, the same branding guidelines. With district events like the conference, you will see a lot more creativity and leeway that might appear to not be consistent with branding guidelines. And that is for a good reason, and it is allowed. So Toastmasters International allows districts to a little bit more creative leeway and creative freedom when it comes to conferences, their themes and our decorations and branding, and we can create a logo for our conference. They allow that because it's a very special event and it's a once a year thing. So that's kind of one of the only situations that they really allow you to you're kind of breaking a lot of the rules, but it's totally allowed. So I think that that's pretty basic and simple on why we want to maintain the brand and be consistent. Next, what I want to do is go through the brand manual, because I think that of all of the resources that they offer on the TI website, one of your best tools is the brand manual. And so I am going to share my screen, and we're going to go to our brand manual. So one of the things that I wanted to go through really quick is there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to go into great detail. They talk about the different elements of the brand. And we know, one element is, of course, the tagline, where leaders are made, our 4 core values, our brand promise, and then they talk about personality and tone. And everything that they put into the brand that they want you to use is supposed to strengthen the personality of the brand and reinforce the voice and the tone. They want the brand elements to evoke keywords: friendly, professional, respectful, warm. And I think that our core values definitely are also aligned with that. The biggest thing that I wanted to go through is the visual guidelines today. First, the biggest one we have is our logo. And there are quite a few rules around the logo. You've got minimum size. You've got a specified amount of clear space that needs to be around a logo. For example, you can't have the logo right up against text or another picture. You've got to have some clear space around it. And then there's links throughout the brand manual that will take you right to the image elements that they offer. And we'll go over that as well later, because I'll show you to quickly download all of them so that they're ready for use in all of your design work. So then we've got the logo Wordmark. And again, they provide it in a few different variables. So they've got the color with a colored background. They also have a colored logo with a transparent background, and we'll go over that too. They have black and white versions as well. And again, these also need certain white space around it so that it's not too close and getting distracted by other elements. We've got different kinds of logo lockups. They've got this since 1924 logo lockups. They've got ones with the website. They've got ones with the tagline. And then they have a bunch of do's and don'ts. It's totally fine to put words around your logo, different lockups and logos. It's not okay to manipulate the logo. You shouldn't skew the perspective, or shrink it disproportionately. So you don't want to shrink it horizontally, but not vertically. You want to keep your size ratio always, your aspect ratio always locked. So if you're shrinking it up and down, you should be shrinking it left and right. And then they don't want you to change any proportions of any elements within the logo. Like, for example, this one here shows that the Toastmasters is much bigger. They've made that part of the words bigger than the globe. So they don't want you manipulating the logo in any way. And these are just all more examples of what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to put on a color background that is not consistent with branding. They don't want you to use anything that overlaps the image, so you can't put anything on top of it. And they don't want you to put any special effects with these images, like a shadow or a patterned glow. There's a lot of cool little photo effects that you can put on image elements, and they don't want you to do that with any of the logos. So the logo goes on in a clear space, and it's left alone. Our primary color palette this year, they recently updated their brand manual, and they removed the bright red color, which was one of my favorites. The reason they removed it is because people were using it way too much. It was supposed to be a highlight feature color that would be used here and there to highlight specific elements. They didn't want you to use it for a lot of your graphical elements. And It's one of my favorite colors, so I just went crazy with it. So I'm probably one of the reasons that they removed that color from the color palette. We still have the traditional ones, and they're more than sufficient for what we need. In addition to the true maroon, the loyal blue, the cool gray, and the happy yellow, you still have the standard black and white as part of your colors that you can choose. You can also use these same colors, but make them lighter or darker. You can make them gradient. So you can do a little bit more with the colors that you can't do necessarily with logos. You can build a little bit more variability and a little bit more uniqueness in some of your work with the colors. So one of the things that I do is once I get to this page, I don't know if you guys have this little snippy tool. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know the snipping tool. So what I like to do is I like to take this snipping tool and I'll take this color palette image, because if you guys can see them, can you see these codes? There's a hex code, which is what you use online when you're designing online. You can also use RGB. R stands for red, G for green, B for blue. So these, and then there's Pantone colors. CMYK is the 4-color process that most professional printers use. So if you're designing something that you're going to be sending to a professional print shop, they're probably going to want the CMYK, the 4-color process, or the RGB. For most of our digital stuff and for internet and for websites, you're going to want to use these hex codes to find these specific exact colors. So what I like to do is I like to take, let me get rid of my marking here, is I'll take a snip of these and I save this as an image in my graphic files. What I do is I save one and I call it colors. So I have this image file that I can pull up anytime I'm doing design, and I've got all of those codes right in front of me, and I can just key them in if I need to. Okay, so that's these codes that I'm talking about. And if you're designing online, the most common one you'll use is this hex code. And sometimes it's all numbers, sometimes it's a combination of letters and numbers. I'll show you how to save those later in Canva as a palette that you can just pick and choose from quickly, and then you don't have to keep entering these numbers in as you're designing. If you're using other software, whether it's PowerPoint or Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or anything else, you usually have to you'll have to key these in for like everything. Same thing for pathways. We've got similar restrictions on space. They've got pathways badges that you can download. And then we're going to talk about fonts. So the fonts that Toastmasters International uses for headlines and subheads. So headlines and subheaders is Gotham, and there's the whole family of Gotham. We've got this big, fat, bold one called Ultra, all the way down to book is sort of like the normal font, and then thin is like the narrowest. So there's different versions of Gotham. And you'll see on this page alone, they're using bold up here where it says fonts. They're using probably medium for this one. And you see that they've used it all over. Same thing with your design work. You can use it for when you want things to be headlines and subheadings and standouts. You can pay for the full Gotham family of fonts because it is a licensed font, or you can download the free one. It's an alternate and it's very, very, very similar. And you can you could just basically Google free Montserrat font. And they actually have a link here too, where you can go and download this free font. I have a family of Gotham that it's a knockoff. It's not the original. It's a very, very close family. And if anyone is interested in that family, it includes all of these versions in their italic form. If you want that, I can send that to you in a zip file. Then we have Myriad Pro. Myriad Pro is primarily used for body and paragraphs and stuff. So you'll have the Gotham font here, and then you'll have the Myriad Pro in paragraph body form. And the free alternative for that is Source Sans Pro, and they have a link for that as well. Again, I have the whole family in a knockoff version, free version. If anybody wants that, I can send that to them as well. And those are the two fonts. And if you cannot get them, the only font that you really should be using is Arial. We'll go through some examples in a few minutes, and people use all kinds of crazy fonts. And again, we're not really supposed to be doing that, except when it comes to conference. They're very lenient on the fonts that we use for conference. But again, that's kind of a one-time allowed situation. Images and photography. There's a lot of rules around the images and photography that you can use. They want to stay away from images that don't connect with the Toastmasters environment. They specifically call out elements that solely portray landscapes, animals, children, food, and food appliances, medicine, and architecture. They don't want you to use cartoons, illustrations, or clip art in materials created for clubs, areas, divisions, districts, and regions. They provide a pretty good set of photography images for our design elements. They don't provide clip art and those types of things. I've seen people use them, and they might get approved through branding at TI, but I think for the most part, they just want people to stay away from those types of images. So you guys have seen a lot of the images in their archives. All of the images on the aztoastmasters.org website are from this library of images. So some of them may look familiar to you. And then the brand portal has a lot of resources. And all of this stuff you can download from the brand portal. They've got stationery, whether that's letters, email headers, they've got all kinds of stuff. They have templates for business cards and email signatures. And then they have a whole section on standards and procedures. This is a nice section about trademark use requests. If you're designing something, if you're designing a special flyer for your club or for a special event, if you're using anything that's not immediately provided as a template from Toastmasters International, you're supposed to send it to branding for approval before using it, or before printing it, or before distributing it, or posting it on Facebook, or emailing it. And I know that we don't do that I think most of the time. I've done many myself and sent it out and not sent it in. They would like us to do that, but they know that it doesn't happen. They get so many requests. They know that there's stuff out there that shouldn't be circulating, and they just kind of, we know it's there and they live with it. It would be way too much to control everything out there. They do have guidelines on videos as well, and apparel. And none of this, we're not going to go through any of this because it's not specific to actual design, which is what we're doing today. But if you have any questions, you'll have my email at the end, and you can ask me anything specifically. I wanted to just review the brand manual so you understood where this comes from. And most of it is outlined pretty well in here. The policy 4.0 for intellectual property, the Toastmasters governing documents have a specific policy and protocol to use its intellectual property. So you should review this if you're going to be creating your own design content. So we're going to get out of here, stop sharing. And I wanted to actually show you some things on Facebook. This is kind of funny. So this is the official Toastmasters International members group. And I'm a member of this group, and I'm also a member of another one I'll show you. If you're interested, I'll have that link available and you could join that group too. But I see a lot of stuff posted on this one, and it's funny to me, the things that get posted that are just so non-compliant with branding. There's just no shame. There's no shame. And I don't know if Toastmasters see these, but I'm sure they don't go after people and say, hey, you need to not use that, because they would just be spending all of their waking moments of time chasing those down. But there's a lot in here, and you can scroll through and see. This one is very interesting, and I've seen this a few times. This one club, Voice of Wales, they have their own club logo here. You're not allowed to make your own club logos or your own area logos or division or district logos. So Karen, I think we also wanted to go through Canva, right?
Yes, because it's an fun free resource that anyone can use. I know you do amazing work with what you have, which is a paid resource, which is why you crank them out so quickly and do so well. But not everyone can do that.
Right. There's different ways to design whatever you want to design, whether it's a flyer or an image that you want to post on any of the social media sites. If it's a brochure or an agenda that you want to print, you can use anything that you want to design it. But when you're designing graphic design, if it's not like an agenda with an outline, Word is the worst software you could use for design. I started out using PowerPoint because you can move different elements and layers around very easily. And I've also used Microsoft Publisher, which is very similar to PowerPoint, but it is supposed to be a desktop publishing application. And it has its pros and cons as well. The Adobe suite, a design suite, is extremely expensive. And I have a version that's probably like 10 years old. It's so old, but it still works just fine. And so the new online toolkit for Adobe is, it's completely outrageously expensive. I don't know how anybody uses it. With that, it is very complicated, and it's like doing very complex, detailed line artwork. Those are not user-friendly systems. Canva is an incredibly user-friendly system. It's very simple. It has almost as powerful tools, editing tools, as like Photoshop or InDesign, but just very simplified. And they have the free version. They have a free version and a pro version. A pro version, of course, is paid, but the free version, you should be able to do everything you need to do for your voluntary work with your Toastmasters clubs or areas or whatever. Before we get into Canva, I am going to go to the brand portal really quick. So we went through the branding guidelines. The brand portal, we'll put that in the chat as well. The brand portal will give you a link to the brand manual. It'll also give you a link to the business cards, the stationery templates. And then again, the one I wanted to go through is the professional images, the logo and design elements, the professional images, and the trademark use request. Now, let's go over the trademark use request really quick. The trademark use request, this is where you submit your artwork design to TI and say, can I use this? They have a little checklist that they want to make sure that, you're not submitting anything that you can get in the online store, that you've met all brand expectations in the brand manual, that you've compared your item against the logo do's and don'ts, and that you understand the following items are typically denied. They will not do custom badges, banners, certificates, pins, ribbons, trophies, and plaques. This is the form that you can fill out, and then you can attach your file that you want them to approve. Alternately, you can just email your request directly to brand@toastmasters.org and trademarks@toastmasters.org. That's the easiest, quickest way, and it goes to their whole team, and somebody reviews it and gets back to you. So this is how you would submit anything that you design before you use it, produce it, or display it. Now, on the logo design and elements, this is an interesting page, and hopefully you'll see the difference here. I have downloaded I do not download the EPS files. The EPS files are files that you would use if you were using Adobe Illustrator. They're vector files, thank you. They're vector files. That's not what you want for graphic design, really. Graphic design should be image elements. For your graphic design, I highly recommend that you just spend half an hour and download every JPEG file and PNG file on this page. Ignore all of the EPS files. These little icons, that's a teeny tiny Facebook icon, like that. I don't even know where we would use that. You might use it on a teeny tiny button somewhere, but it's not necessary. Download every JPEG and PNG file on this page. The difference between a JPEG and a PNG file, I'm going to click on the JPEG. The first thing you'll notice is when you hover over the image, your cursor will turn into a magnifying glass with a plus sign. What you want to do is you want to click on that, and it's going to zoom in. And so this is the biggest file. And once you get to this point, you're going to right click and save your image. And I have all of my images saved in their own folder. I've called it files, so they're all in here. Now that was the JPEG. We're going to go click on the PNG. Now the PNG, you'll notice, it looks like it has a black background where the JPEG had a white background. Well, in reality, the PNGs have no background. They're transparent. If you're using a background that's dark blue or dark red or gray, you don't want to take the image, the logo, on a white background image and put that on a colored background, because then you're going to have a white box on a gray background or blue background. This transparent background lets you put this on any color. So that's the difference between the JPEG and the PNG. Just come through these logos, design and design elements. You've got all of the logo, the word marks, the lockups, the Pathways logo, the Pathways badges. If you participate with and support a Gavel Club, download those. If you don't, you don't really need them. And then they have all these social media templates. Now, some of these are PowerPoint templates, and these are where you can edit a social media cover logo or a Facebook event logo or photo template. And these you can use in PowerPoint, and you can customize them and save it as an image, and then use that as your social media cover photo or your event photo. And the same thing with a LinkedIn. They have a LinkedIn one too. All of these other ones, they're just images sized specifically for that element. So this one was a Facebook cover photo. So this is sized and everything is proportionate to fit a Facebook cover photo perfectly. Sometimes you'll see stuff gets cropped off or shrinked down if the cover photos are not sized proportionately for Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I think they've got Facebook and LinkedIn here. So they kind of give you some cheat sheets, and you can download those as well. But the cool thing about Canva is that you can create social media specific content that is pre-sized to be optimized for that platform. So whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, pretty much it.
You're right. They have Twitter and they have YouTube thumbnails and LinkedIn, and just, if you can think of the social media, they have templates.
There you go. So you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have my dimensions right for my image? They've got that covered for you, which is really helpful. So you want to come in here and download all of these files so that you have them ready to go when you want to start designing. And then the last one is the professional images. The professional images, this is what I think kind of gets frustrating for people, because the images that they provide are what looks like meetings and people. There's nothing terribly creative. I'm just going to get rid of a lot of these tabs so things load faster. In this public gallery, you've got the magazine PDF archive. That's just their magazine archives. The club and district content branded photos. This is what we want. These these collections right here. And then they have the brand manual in here as well. So they have a lot of images that are used in the brand manual that you can use as well. These are public. If you want to use one of these photos for a meeting or an event flyer, these are photos you can use. So you can browse through these collections and download any of these photos that you want to use. I actually have not downloaded any of these, so maybe I will download one for now. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different folders here that you can browse through, download every single one or download just the ones you like. Okay, so that is the brand portal, stock images, and now the other one we have under resources is our resource library. And you can find different flyers and templates in here, but they're literally just a flyer that you can put in your club name, your meeting location information. You can't customize any images on it. They're very simple to use. They're very easy to use for people who, don't want to get into the design. You can search through the resource library and find those. They just released some new ones, and they are actually in PowerPoint. The ones that they just released, like in the last week, are special event flyers. They got a lot of requests for special event flyers. And these are PowerPoint files. They're slides that you can customize in PowerPoint. So they've got a bunch of different ones with different backgrounds, different borders. They've got one with balloons. This is a new style of kind of flyer template that they've just released. Now, again, they don't want you changing. There's a lot of stuff in the background they don't want you changing, but these are just, you can fill in info, you can put your own pictures in here, and then you can save them as images, and you can post them on social media. You can send them through email. You can print them if you need to. And these have been getting a lot of attention lately because they're new and different from ones that they've been using for kind of a long time, and they're a little bit boring. So I will include this on a resource page, the link for these flyers on a resource page that we can provide you at the end of the meeting. So finally, let's go to Canva.
We have a question before you move to Canva. Donna is asking if you get the approval for the items that you design.
No.
I think she's getting clarification on the approval process.
No, the approval process is sent directly to Toastmasters International. They have a team of brand specialists who, that's their job, is to review trademark use and brand compliance requests. Good?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yep.
The cool thing about Canva is that when you go to the homepage, when you first join and create your account, they're going to ask you some questions like, what are you going to be working on? And one of the options is nonprofit, like there's personal, small business, all these different, what are you going to use it for? I'm not going to use this for personal stuff. If you are, then choose personal. If you have your own business, choose that. I chose the nonprofit option. And again, this is just the free account. So this then, if you go to home, you have a link on the side called, you have this menu over here. And you can have, if you save your designs, you can click here and find all the designs you've saved. If people share designs with you, you'll find that content here. You can also create a team. Let's say you have a couple of people in your club and you guys all work on content together. You can actually create a team and send them an invitation. And in that team, you guys can work on stuff together and share stuff between each other. And then you can have a whole list of folders. So create folders for different projects or different types of design that you want to work on. The coolest thing, though, I think, is this brand kit. So here is where you want to upload all of your logos that you intend to use. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, can you only use brand kit with professional? I didn't think no, you don't have to. Okay, so for the colors, what we're going to do is we're going to load our colors in here. So 772, 432. And then we're going to close this one. So the blue is 4165. Gray. Oh, I lost my blue. All right, well, let's name this one. I guess they limit you on the number of colors you can add in the free account. That's disappointing. So I wanted to add my yellow, but I've run out of room. You can also upload fonts if you want. So let's create a Facebook image. Let's create a design. I want to create a Facebook post. And so this is your design page. Alrighty. All right, so one of the things that you can look at is you can find templates, or you can just totally start from scratch. Let me start with a template just to show you some of the editing features. And I'm just trying to find a simple one here. Okay, so you'll see as you hover over different parts of the page, you'll see that there's a box that will appear on the elements that you're looking at. So if you want to change this element, you can select that one. If you want to change the word element, you can select that one. The word element is actually made out of 3 different elements. You've got a little one up here, big one in the middle, and a little one at the bottom. These 3 have all been grouped together. And you can see that they're grouped because if you click on this element, you can ungroup it. So now we've made these individual, they're not grouped anymore. You can move them independently. If they're grouped, you move them all together. So once you've selected an element, you can highlight the words, you can change the font, the size, the color of the font, all of these elements. You can make it left justified, centered, right justified, all of these things. Whatever element that you have clicked on, your menu options at the top are going to change respective to that element. So if it's an image element or an object element, you're going to get different buttons and options up here. One of the things we were talking about was effects with logos. So when you have a logo, and I said you can put a shadow on it. So you click on that effects button. This text here, let's put shadow effect on this text. And then you can change the color of the shadow. You can change the transparency of it, make it more transparent. You can make all these adjustments and just play around with things, but don't use effects on the logos that Toastmasters provides. But anything else, text, I love doing effects on text. Let's go with let's just get rid of everything. So we've got this background here. And if I want to change the color of the background, you'll see there's a color box up here, and you click on that, and you'll see that I have my 3 Toastmasters brand colors here. These are the ones that I added. So let's choose the gray one for now. And then you've got all of these different elements over here that you can add to your image. You want to add a photo to the image. You can search through their photos, or you can upload. And to upload, we can just drag and drop. So I'm going to take that picture that we downloaded from the image library, and I'm going to drag and drop it. Let's say that we wanted to make this as big as the whole image here. And then we want to put some text at the top. You can add a heading, add a subheading, or add a little bit of body. They give you these 3 options, and it will automatically make it big text, medium text, or body text. And they have a lot of different cool fonts. Again, we want to use the fonts that the Gotham and You can do that if you download those free fonts and then upload into that brand kit. You can add your fonts here and use those. So you want to add a heading. You can just click on that, and then you can grab it and move it up here. You can resize it. And then if you wanted to do you can add text in here. Is there anything specific that people are interested in learning? You can just go through this whole toolkit and just add interesting things.
We don't have any specific questions at this time. If anyone does have questions, then pop them in the chat or the Q&A section. Oh, someone asked, Rose, can you add the logo? So how would you add the logo?
Oh. Okay, so we're going to go to the Uploads tab over here. And we want to add our logo. So what I'm going to do is pull my folder over here. And so let's take, this is the color logo with a white background. And then I'm also going to do the color logo without a background. So let me show you what happens when you take this one and we want to put that. So, you know, it doesn't look quite right, you know, with this white box. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to pull that PNG one. The PNG has that transparent background. So what we can do, we can actually move him over here. So I want to edit this element back here, and you can crop it and just drag this over. So you'll notice I brought this in this box to sort of be resizing it over here. So this now, the logo doesn't have that white background. It's got a transparent background and it looks clean and crisp. It doesn't look crazy and weird. So that would be a good way to use the logo in this situation. If you had a white background, use the white background. Or I tend to just use the PNG files everywhere, but it's there in case you need it. Anything else? Any other questions? Say you want to do links. If you want to go to your club site, you know, whatever your club's website is, if you want to make that a clickable, if you're going to PDF this, then you want to make those a clickable link. Then you can highlight the text that you want to be clickable and then click on the little link up here. And then this is where you would want to, I'm putting this fake one in here, but you would put in your club website or whatever it is. So whatever you click on, you're going to see different options up here. And you can just look at things and play with them. Sometimes what I like to do is make an image in sort of a background image, and you can change the contrast, the blurring, you can make it a vignette. You can also make it more transparent. So it's sort of like just a hint of an image in the background. And in that situation, you can actually bring text right over. Oops. You can bring text right on top of that transparent image. And then if you want to change the color of the text, you highlight the text and click on color. And we could make it our blue or We could do our standard black.
Kristy, we do have a couple of questions about text right now.
Okay.
Ramon asked, can you outline a text or image to stand out in a flyer or shadow on the text or image?
Yes. So this text here, you are invited. If you're highlighting, if you've selected the text, you see the blue box around it. We selected that element. You're going to see this effects button up here. So you want to click on effects. You can click on different shadows. This is a shadow one. Let's make the shadow a dark color instead. So see how it turned dark? Then not only that, but once you've chosen your effect, whether it's shadow or lift or whatever, you can also change how far it's offset. You can make that shadow really pronounced. You can also change the transparency. You can make it really dark or more transparent. You can also change the direction. You can make it shadowed over on this side. So you can play around with all of that and figure out where you want that shadow.
All right, we have a couple more questions. Jesse is wondering, how, with so many images that we have on the website being pre-pandemic, do you think there'll be new images that are more tied to virtual meetings?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I wouldn't hesitate to try and find images that meet your needs. Just be professional about it. And if it looks like it's consistently supporting the image, then I would go for it.
Okay, we have a couple of other quick questions, and then we did put this for an hour and we're kind of at the wrap up point. I can always stay on and answer a few more questions if needed. Many Canva inventory images and templates are non-proprietary. Are there limits on what we should or should not use?
In the branding manual and the guidelines in the brand manual should be, should be your guidelines on what to use. As far as the images and templates in Canva, some of the templates are you just want the template for a layout. You know, you're not necessarily going to use an image. Like the one that I had picked had the flowers. Let's say you didn't really want that, but it had some kind of element in the layout that you like, then start with that template and delete the elements you don't like. And you can always change the colors of the elements you do like. So if you have backgrounds and blocks and shapes, you can change the colors of those in the template to match the branding guidelines. And I've done that with, I would say 75% of the design work I do. I just look at stuff on Google and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I kind of take that similar layout and just kind of work it and change it up so that it matches what I need it to. But a lot of my stuff is not, I'm not just creating out of thin air. I'm copying other people's work.
Okay. I know that you don't normally use Canva. You were experimenting with this as a free option because you have a paid software that you do yours. Because Donna's asking to see some images that you've done. I have done images in Canva for many different things, and I found it to be myself personally, I find it user-friendly. And if you look, I'll give you an example of an image created in Canva. That little image that everyone saw in the International Toastmasters group saying, come to this meeting tonight, that was created in Canva. All those different ones that you see, our PRM posts, are created in Canva, just to give you an idea of that. So there was one idea. And then William asks, can you use this to create a meeting flyer template to be reused weekly?
So yeah, let's say that you had a whole bunch of text in here and you wanted to just be able to change stuff up here and there, like dates and whatever themes. I'm going to change this back to white. So what you want to do is from here, you can download your whatever you've done and you've finished whatever you're worked on. They have a download button up here, and this allows you to download it. Let's say you're going to post it or whatever. You want to download it. So then if you want to save it, okay, so I go to File over on the left, and you want to save to a folder. And this is where I said that you don't have any folders. So let's say we want to create a meeting flyer. Meeting flyers. So we're going to create a folder for meeting flyers. And so we've just saved this one into meeting flyers. So then when you go to your home, and let's say you want to change that flyer and download a new copy that you're going to share, you can go to your folders. And I've got my folder for meeting flyers. And we can just open this up and we can start changing it.
I just saw a question about putting, you can only have 2 folders on the free. But if you look at the top hand right corner of your image, can you see the little, looks like 2 pieces on top of each other? No, the next one in the middle. If you click that, and it'll duplicate this page. So instead of having multiple files, you could have 1 file and print each individual image and just edit it that way. So there's another way to get around the folders.
Right, but then you might
forget
that you have multiple pages.
Yeah. It's just another way to get around it. This is just a free tool for those that aren't able to pay, or the club isn't able to pay for one. We're just giving options.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't have to organize your files into folders. There's no limit on how many files you can put in your folders. Karen, I didn't look into how much the subscriptions are, but if you're interested,
I personally have the paid Canva. It's $12.95 a month.
Now, the interesting thing is that it says that Canva Pro is free for all registered nonprofits. So I don't see why, as a Toastmasters Club VPPR or whatever president, that you can't register a free account.
I did not know that.
They will probably ask for the 501c3 tax form letter thing, but all you have to do is go to the TI website, and they have that form that you can download if they ask for that. Might want to try that. Get it free.
Hey, that was an awesome catch, Kristy. I did not know that. We had Joyce tell us, thank you, Kristy. She learned a lot from you tonight.
Thank you, Joyce.
William says, did not know that. Fun fact for nonprofits. You gave some extremely valuable information, and Diana enjoyed learning.
Thank you, Diana. Karen, do we have the ability to send an email to all the attendees with the resource page put together?
I can get you the email list. And the other thing is, if you want to have a resource page, we can upload that to the website. And when we upload the YouTube video, we put a link to that resource page on the website as well.
Okay, all right. Because I have some things on the resource page that we didn't go over today. And one of them is a YouTube video with 20 Canva tips that are actually really cool. Just little quick shortcuts that make things easier, and that's a really great resource. So, and there's other resources on that, so I want to share that with everybody.
Absolutely. Violetta wants the link because she does work with trading. That is our regional advisor. So Violetta wants the information too. Enjoyed learning. Please email us. You did phenomenal tonight, Kristy. Thank you so much for sharing this information and taking time out of your night. Lori says info's very helpful, especially Canva. Violetta says you rock, Kristy. Rose says thank you.
Thank you,
So
Karen.
you're doing excellent. Thank you everyone for attending tonight. We've really appreciated your time. We love that you came out. And Kristy, thank you. You did amazing.